So, Prince Harry is back in England. Apparently, the King too busy to meet with him. We'll get to that in a second. But the reason that he's there is, of course, in a court case right now against the Daily Mail for privacy invasions. Elton John and others are involved in all of that. But he's found a way to somehow throw the royal family under the bus again, and even in a court.
Surprise, surprise. He hasn't been in England since the funeral of the late Queen Elizabeth II back in September. And suddenly he arrives, large as life, with red hair, although he's losing it at the back, at the Royal Courts of Justice in the Strand, hard by, close by Australia House. And for the last 2 days, he hasn't missed a minute. These are preliminary hearings, but he's been in court all the time. The other great stars have come and gone, but he's been sticking with it. Nobody knows quite where he's staying. As you've already said, he won't be seeing the King. The King is going to Germany on his first state visit later in Wednesday, and he won't be seeing his brother William, who's up in Norfolk, near where I am, having the Easter holidays with his family. But Harry is in here for the long haul. He is, in many, many ways, I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say he has an abiding hatred of certain elements of the media. And Paul, you know, this started very, very early on, and I witnessed it. He was not quite 3 years old, and the Prince and Princess of Wales, Diana and Charles, had been invited to Mallorca by the Spanish King and Queen and their family. And there was a photo call, which the King, Juan Carlos, called, and we all went along, and the two royal families were snapped sitting nicely together on the steps of this mansion. And then little Harry, short of his third birthday, tottered forward, picked up 2 handfuls of gravel, shingle, and he went towards the photographers, the Nikon choir, and he threw them with all his might at photographers, saying, "Go away, men's, go away, men's." And so as a child, he hated the press, and he was always being photographed, sticking his tongue out at them, to the dismay of his mother, because she knew that photograph would get in the paper. And of course, then he had real cause to despise the paparazzi, because they pursued his mother to her tragic and terrible death in Paris in 1997, August the 31st, and some of them were arrested. And those people did continue taking photographs of the princess as she was fighting for life in that tunnel, a fight that unfortunately she didn't win. So he has an abiding hatred of certain elements of the press, and he's pursuing that through the courts. Whether that's a wise thing to do or not, he doesn't answer. He doesn't even stop to consider. He and his wife are dead set against. They've had one other case. She had a case against Associated Newspapers. Associated Newspapers are the publishers of the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday, both very successful newspapers. She won her case, and now it's his case. And what he's alleging is that between 2007 and 2013, there were 5 separate occasions when unlawful activity took place. His phones were hacked, the landlines of his friends were tapped, and unlawfully information was obtained about his then girlfriend, Chelsea Davy, and other young ladies he knew. And information that was entirely private to him got into the Daily Mail. Well, the Daily Mail says that these are preposterous smears, and it is asking for the claims to be dismissed. And it says that this is just an attempt to drag Associated Newspapers into the hacking scandal about which we know very much. And indeed, I might say that I was a victim of one of the hacking scandals.
This is why we love talking to you. I love the detail, the memory of all of the intricate workings in this, because it's not just about him turning up today. It is about this lifelong pathological hatred of the media, right on some levels, because, as you say, of course, the intrusion of photographers and the performing for photographers. But some of the stuff here seems to be just quite malicious. Whether that's what's happening will be for a court to decide. But again, to this family dynamic. Now, we know, obviously, he's bucketed his family globally. All right, his dad's in Germany, but his brother's up the road. They can't meet at a pub halfway?
I know, actually, a couple of quite good ones between Sandringham and London.
You could broker the peace.
Well, the Eagle in Cambridge is an excellent pub, a historic place, and that's about halfway. That would be good. But, as you said, a strange dynamic is going on. And it's very, there hasn't been a member of the royal family in a court of law for a long, long time. Since Princess Anne, she had a dog that unfortunately bit two little children, two little Indian children who were walking around Windsor Great Park. And she was in court and she pleaded guilty to keeping a dangerous dog and she was fined. But it's very rare for a member of the royal family to be in court. In the 19th century, the then Prince of Wales, who later became King Edward VII, he was involved in two scandalous court cases, and that was to the great dismay of his mother, Queen Victoria. So it's quite rare, and I think that I've spent too many months and years polishing the seat of my trousers, sitting in court as a reporter, reporting on famous cases. I can assure you that Prince Harry probably thinks it's a case of him going into court and telling his truth, and everybody will be impressed by that, and the jury will find in his favour. But you and I, Paul, know that it doesn't work like that. Under cross-examination, cases turn round, and Associated Newspapers, owners of the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday, they will defend this vigorously. And they are going to be, a King's Counsel cross-examining the Prince over aspects of his life. And it will all be dragged into it because the paper will say this is all relevant to what they did. But most of all, they say, we didn't do it. They say, anyway, these offences, these are allegations, are time expired. They're too old. They took place too long ago, between 2007 and 13. Usually you have to take action within 6 years. Well, quite clearly, that hasn't happened. And they say, and they've got the sworn statement of the man who's allegedly carried out these unlawful activities. He has said, his name is Gavin Burrows, he has said that he was not commissioned or employed by the Daily Mail to do anything that may or may not have been done. So that is their case. It's going to be a real slugging match. It's going to be a drag-em-out court case. And it's going to be very, very uncomfortable for Prince Harry, because I don't know whether you've had the misfortune to have to read his book, Spare, Paul, but if you have, it's replete, it's packed full of references, for instance, to his drug taking. I mean, he's talking about smoking weed on the beach. He's talking about hallucinatory drugs. He has also confessed to using cocaine. Well, in this country and in Australia, cocaine is a serious felony. It's a Class A drug. And were the Prince ever to have been convicted of any drug offence, well, he wouldn't get back into the United States, for a start. If you are a drugs offender and you apply for a visa to go to the United States, or a residence visa, and you have a drug conviction, well, I promise you, you won't get it unless there's a special arrangement for princes that I don't know about. So it's quite a dangerous thing he's doing if he goes into court, if indeed, Paul, this case goes to trial.